There you go. We're now recording. Hi guys. I hope you guys are doing well. You will have our music theory. Now, according to the thing that you told me, you wanted to learn like advanced chords and stuff. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll try to see my best if I can teach the advanced chords. Pero, ayun, this is gonna be our focus of our training today. We're gonna be focusing on rhythm, harmony, and basic note reading. Ang maganda dito sa tatlong ito, if you know if you know these already, you can actually build from scratch anything that I give you guys. Okay? So since you guys asked for chords, we'll begin with chords muna and then later we'll do harmony. Chords. So can you guys tune in? What do you know about chords?
Built
Um,
of more than yeah.
yeah,
Built of more you three or more notes.
three or more notes. Okay, three or more
Yeah.
notes. Okay. What else? How about you, Franco?
Uh, um,
What do you think is a chord?
uh, yeah, that's all. I can just I'll just copy. That's
Three or
what
more
it is.
notes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. How about Carlos? What is a chord for you?
It's built by stacking thirds.
Stacking third. All right. So stack thirds. I don't know how to write. Okay. Stack thirds. What else? Yun lang. Okay. Well, tama siya, but we're gonna define it a little bit more specifically. All right. The first one is it is built up of three. Actually, it's not three. Two or more voices. Okay.
Uh
What's the
okay.
difference between
Gets.
voices and notes? Notes kasi, it implies, kunyari, if I wrote a note here, ganyan siya. It implies that there's a note there and that's it. However, if we put voices, this will imply movement. Okay, it implies movement in such a way that chords are now not just functioning as a single instance, but more of an instance throughout a specific piece. Does that make sense?
Makes
So
sense.
we don't want, tama naman, there's a lot of notes, but if you take a look, a chord, notes of the chord can change. And that's why we want to make sure it does imply movement. How about this one, stack thirds? Well, this is correct. It can actually be stack thirds. So when you say stack thirds, let me just check if someone's joining. Okay, baka yung pala someone's trying to join na pala. No one naman is joining. Okay. So it implies stack thirds. Stack thirds, however, is this is what we call tertiary harmony. Tertiary harmony. We actually have stacked fourths as well, which is called quartal harmony. And we have stacked fifths, which is called quintal harmony. But of course, we're going to be talking mainly about tertiary and quartal harmony. Okay? So, yun lang yun. Chords is also goes under the idea of harmony. Why is it harmony? What's the main difference from harmony versus melody? What's the difference between harmony and melody? Anyone? Hello?
Well, to say the
Yeah.
obvious is the number of notes playing at once.
The number of notes playing as one. All right. That's good. Uh, that's right. So this is the number of notes. But we also have to understand that harmony also implies a quality of a sound. Okay. So if I were to tell you that, for example, you were able to hear, let's say, a bell. Here's a bell. I'm gonna try this, and you were able to hear a bell. Yeah, someone clanged the bell, and then for some reason, there's a group of people here. Quality and texture. Okay, or relative is. Would you say that this bell was in harmony with them? If, for example, these were all males, and this is a very high pitched bell, high pitch. Would you say it is in harmony? Would you say that the bell is in harmony with the voices? RG, what do you think?
Assuming na it rings somewhere within the key na the males are singing, yes, it's in harmony.
Okay. But let's say the males are just talking. What
Hmm.
happens yung ganun?
Not in harmony.
It
Not
would be not in
harmonious.
harmony. Okay, it wouldn't be harmonious. Technically, it is harmonious, but we have to focus not on the number of the notes, but we have to focus on the
Mhm.
quality, texture, or relative ease of the sound that just goes together. Okay, let's move to a different kind of concept. Let's say this is still males, but suddenly this is no longer a bell. This is now suddenly, I'm gonna try my best, okay? This is now a big gong. It it's a gong that really sounds really boomy. And then the males happen not to be talking, but they happen to be shouting. The males are shouting. What would you say about the harmony of this one? The scene that you're imagining should be a war or a declaration of war. Would you say they are harmonious to each other?
Yes.
Yeah, it would
Somehow,
be
yeah.
because it implies a certain sound. The harmony implies a sound that is really bass. If you have your frequency range, you're talking about the low mids to the low mids to the bass frequencies. Because this one can resonate to the bass frequencies and sub bass if tama yung surrounding. Considering this one and then the males are shouting, what do you think? You would see now that the harmony is now implying a certain quality, texture, or relative ease of the sound. So you would say that this is in harmonious with each other, but would you call it a melody? So we wouldn't call it a melody. For melody kasi, what we're looking for is basically its timbre, the timbre. The timbre will dictate the quality, but this is not the quality that we mean by harmonic quality. Is that making sense? Are those concepts making sense, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. It's an abstract concept where we have to find out that when we say harmony, it also depends on the sound of the harmony that you're creating. If you're creating a beautiful harmony or a harmony coexistent with what's happening around, technically you might as well have one big harmony. Or if the band's playing in a different key and then you're having a different key, you might even just call them two different kind of voices. Okay? So that's just an abstract concept of harmony. But you're right, harmonies are based on standards. So the moment I have a scale and so on, harmony is usually based on standards where you take the first, the third, and the fifth. Now, the important thing to think about whenever you're creating whenever you're creating a chord, is you're not only creating a chord, you're actually creating what you call a chord scale. Always remember that. There's always a chord scale associated with it. How do I mean by that? let's say I wanted to play the chord C. It's a stack C. There's actually two ways to play a chord over the C. If you remember your scales, you can actually have the Ionian, which is the major scale, but you can also have the sharp four, which is the Lydian. You can play both on major scale because if you take a look at the one, the third, and the fifth, you will notice how, right? You notice how all of these notes, all of these chord tones, 1, 3, and 5, will still work in the context of a Lydian mode. It's just not if the moment we manipulate it, we manipulate the third, we manipulate the fifth, we have to follow the chord scale associated with it. Okay? So it's not simply a matter of knowing the formula. You also have to take into consideration the chord scale that's implied with the chord. Okay? So we'll talk about that more next time. But for now, just know that not only do you have a chord, but you also have a chord scale that's associated with it. So please call out the types of chords that you know. The types of chords that you know.
Major,
Okay?
minor,
Okay.
minor seventh, major
So none are in
seven.
sevens. Okay, but I'll put it
Okay.
here,
Okay,
sevens.
never mind.
What else?
Diminished.
Okay, you have a
Diminished, yeah.
diminished. What
Suspended.
else? You have resus. What
Suspended.
else? First
Augmented.
again, please
Yeah.
put all the chords that you know. Just name them all na lang. Sige.
Sige.
As much as you can.
Half-diminished.
I have diminished.
Diminished.
What
Full
else?
diminished.
A whole diminished.
The whole
Malamang pag may half may whole.
diminished.
What else?
The whole. Oh. Dominant seven. Yeah.
Which is here. Already have it na.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Never mind.
What else, guys?
Sus 9. Does that count?
Yeah, sus 9. 9
Alright.
sus. What
Yeah.
else? Yun lang, guys?
Alternate.
Six
My
nine.
extended.
You have your 6-9 chord. Alright, what else?
Alternate.
You have your altered 7 chord.
Alright.
That's right. What else? I'm gonna add a chord here. It's called the flat 5 chord.
Yeah.
Oh,
Five. Oh.
What
Yeah. Flat
else?
five.
We have the sus 2. We have the sus 2. This is sus 4. What else do you have, guys?
Or
What do you think?
add 9.
Add 9.
uh,
This will be here. So what are you noticing? Why do you think I put one side here and then the other side I put it here? Why do you think I did that?
extended structures ba?
Okay, they're extended. But the most basic thing is these are all triads, and these are triads with extensions. Okay, so always
Gets,
know
gets.
that for every single chord that you have here, there is always gonna be an equivalent chord, simpler chord here. Okay, as well as for every chord that you have here, there's always an equivalent chord that you can do here with the right one. Okay, so we will discuss them in a chart-like manner. So what do you know about triads, guys? Coming from the word tri,
Three notes. Ay,
three
three,
notes.
three voices pala.
It's a three-voice chord. Tama.
Right.
It's a three-voice chord. So what does it mean? Of course, malamang uh, if you play a guitar, you don't really just play three notes, don't you? You play more than three notes or three
Yes.
voices, which is also why we also have to consider doubling. Okay, we're gonna consider doubling as a concept later. But for now, let's move on to major chord. I know you remember the formula, guys. What's the formula for a major chord? The one.
1 3 5.
Three, five.
Major for major.
Okay.
Ay, perfect fifth.
So you have a major chord here, and you have a perfect fifth here. Tama. That's good. So as long as you know these, you're good to go. The thing is, if you notice, uh, Ayun, mamaya na yan. Sige. Then what do we have here for minor?
Root, minor third, perfect fifth.
So we don't say minor third, we say flat third. Okay?
Okay, sige.
So
Got it.
I always remember when someone asks you, minor third? No, flat third. Because a minor third
Okay.
is actually an interval. What you're talking about, kanina, you said major third, right? But
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is we're trying to affect a scale. Remember how we talked about scale theory here? So when you say minor
Yep.
third, you can call this, if I did this, you call it a minor third, tama. But if I said I'm gonna flat the third, technically you have a scale with a simple flatted third. Yun lang siya. Pero you don't have a scale with an automatic flatted third. There's no scale that would fit this. Well, there is one. Pero if you think about it in scale theory, remember, we cannot just simply say minor third, or we have to say we flatted the third. Because now we're going to be talking about altering the major chord. It's always about altering, which is why we have so many triads. Okay, so just a clarify, just a
Alright,
clarify.
got it.
So you have your major, you have your minor. What else do we have?
Yan nga. Wait. Oh, yeah, right. Suspended, augmented, diminished, no?
Yeah. So we have your suspended. Now,
Suspended.
a lot of people would assume that you have to put a fourth. When you say
Fourth,
sus, it's automatically the fourth. We cannot
fourth,
assume that it is the second. Okay.
one.
So what happens here? We still have to administer. We still have to go with the staggered voicing. We still have to always go by staggered. So how do we suspend a 1 3 5?
145.
We
Tama ba?
cannot do 1 4 5 because that's no longer a stack.
Okay.
We have to stack a third. And
Third.
we have to skip every now and then. So what do we do with the third? How do we make the third into a four? Anyone? Carlos? Franco?
Sharp,
Who said sharp?
Not sure.
sharp.
Who said sharp?
Yeah.
Okay, Franco. So yeah, we're gonna sharp the third. Okay. So for
Ah,
augmented, it's gonna be
That's
1 3 5 again.
1,
Always 1 3 5.
3,
Always remember it's always gonna be 1 3 5. So for the augmented, we sharp the fifth. For the diminished, we sharp both the
third.
third and the fifth.
Diminished.
So are you noticing the style of making the triads is basically altering chord tones? And the moment we alter
Yep.
our chord tones, this is where we can now begin to be more advanced in our thinking. So okay, we know already the diminished, suspended, augmented, right? All you have to do is to apply this and then you're good now. But let's now move on to the well, this is a specific type of tetrad. Tetrad is a set of four notes. Okay, the first type of tetrad is the sixth, where you have a C6 or a C minor six. So you can guess already that when you have a 1 3 5, you actually add a six. That's why it's called the tetrad. So for the minor six, you just flat the third, five and six. Does that make sense, guys?
Makes sense.
Okay. And then after six, we move on to our favorite, the seventh chords. So of course, we have to rely on the permutation. So let's start muna. The major seventh. How do you what do you, how what is the formula of a major seventh?
Uh,
1,
357. Yeah.
3, 5. No, wait, no. Yeah,
Tama.
yeah.
1 3 5 7.
Yeah.
The
On
thing
three
is,
five
are you noticing
seven.
now how we skip these degrees? Are you noticing how this is technically forming a scale?
Yeah.
Okay, you notice how this is creating a scale. So later we will derive scale tones from these. Okay, how do you do on minor seven? Wait lang. Before we go to minor 7,
1-3-5 flat
let's
7.
introduce muna
Yeah.
the dominant 7.
Dominant 7.
So, yeah. So what did you do? 1-3-5 flat 7, right? You're right.
Flat 7.
Yes. So a lot of people ask, why is it called dominant? There's a list called chord tone functions. These are functions wherein how a note in a scale relates to the root. So what are the tone functions? The tone functions are tonic. Please remember these guys: tonic, supertonic,
Okay.
median,
Median. Sub.
subdominant, dominant, submedian, and then finally the leading tone. Now, where do you find the word dominant here? Where do you think is the dominant located? You will notice that the dominant is located in the fifth degree. So the moment we know it's a fifth degree, it has something to do with the 5. So we'll discover that later. Okay? So namya na muna tayo. So you have your dominant 7. What else do you have, guys? You have your minor 7.
Minor 7.
So obviously, whenever you have a 7, it's always flatted 7. If it's a
Yeah.
major 7, it's always natural 7. Of course, if it's minor, you have to flat the 3.
Yeah.
Okay. How about what else? This one. How about we do C minor major 7? How do we go about that?
1 flat 3 5 7.
Yep,
7.
1 flat 3 5 7. So when we know how the chord tones relate to each other in terms of label, it's actually pretty easy to deduce what kind of chord you're looking at. Yeah. So a C minor
Yeah.
major 7, guys. A major 7 can also be a triangle. Okay, triangle. So now that we
I
know
didn't
the
know that.
basic types, yep. By the way, just to go back again. So when you say sus, is usually typed out as sus. When you say augmented, is usually typed out with a plus, and a diminished is usually typed out with a circle, or if it's half diminished, circle with a slash, and usually may kasamang 7 na yan. Okay, let's go back here. So we now know the types of sevens, and these are really honestly the basic types of 7. Wherein all we really messed around with was the 7 and the 3, and a combination of which caused us to have 4. Okay, 2 times 2, 4. So you have a combination of minor and dominant, minor major, dominant and major. That's why you created 4 variations. So here's the thing, guys. Suppose we have a scale already. So you have a scale. I'm gonna write out the scale. We have to stack these, remember, into four notes, right? So the moment I start stacking these one, and knowing our theory already that we know from our scales, you should be able to deduce the order of chords. The order of chords in terms of sevens. Okay? Let us try to find out what these are. Although I was feeling alam niyo naman to. So you all remember the major, minor, minor, major, major, minor,
Yep.
dim. Okay. We're gonna apply it, but this time we're gonna add the sevens and see what happens. So you have a major. Alam natin this is a major. Alam natin this is a minor, minor, major, major, minor, and then dim. So alam na natin siya. But let's take a look at this one. Oh, there's another one that we haven't talked about. Let's add another one. C half diminished, also known as C minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so this one you can deduce. Can you guys deduce what this is? C minor 7 flat 5
1 flat. Yan. 1
minor,
flat
so flat 3,
3.
7 flat 7,
Flat 5, flat
That's flat.
7,
Flat 5.
tapos, yeah, flat 5.
So
Yeah.
you have everything that's flat except for the root. Okay, very good. So let's try it out. You have a C major 7 where the root and the 7th are half step are a half step down. You get that? It's a half step. What chord is it? What type of chord? It's a major or what? Come on, guys, take a guess.
Sorry, what is the question again?
The question is, these are all sevens now because we made it all into four notes, yeah? Because it's all
Mhm.
sevens now, how do we, let's determine the type of sevens.
Per
What's the
chord.
first one?
Major 7.
Major
7,
7. How about the second one?
Minor 7.
minor
Minor
7.
7. Next one. You have chance to others, guys. Wala. Nung give chance to others, wala na. Sige,
Yeah.
that's why let's put a minor 7 there. I'm gonna skip this one for now. And then we're gonna put a minor 7. And for diminished, let's not say diminished now. Let's have half diminished. Remember, a half diminished is 1 flat 3 flat 5 flat 7. Yeah. So if we let's dissect this one. So 1 flat 3 flat 5 flat 7. So this is a B, this is a D, this is an F, and then this is a A. Can you check? Is
Yeah.
this dominant 7, B and A? So it's a flat 7. Can we check this one? It's a flatted fifth. Can we check this one? It's just a flatted third. Also known as a half diminished chord. Did that make sense, guys?
Okay.
So that's how we go about looking at these. The thing now is, let's look at this one that we skipped because we skipped a very important detail here. What type of chord is this one? If I write down the notes, that's G, B, D, F. Can anyone tell me I know this is a triad, right? It's a major triad, so we're good. But what is the relationship between a G and an F?
Major G and an F. 7.
It's a 7.
Yeah.
It's a flatted 7 or a dominant 7. So we can no longer we can call it a major 7 because it's a flat 7. So this is simply a 7. Now, do you notice? Remember our rule a while ago? Our list. This is tonic, supertonic, median, subdominant,
And
dominant,
dominant, dominant,
submedian, and then
mm,
leading tone. You
leading.
notice that this is the only chord that is a 7. The rest of it is a form of a major 7, minor 7, or a half diminished 7, but there's only one 7 chord. And this is why it's called the dominant 7. Because this is the only chord that will naturally fit in a major scale that is a dominant 7. Did that make sense, guys? This is why when we refer to a
Makes
7,
sense.
it can be interchangeably used for a dominant 7 or it can be interchangeably used with just a 7. But the reason why we call it a dominant 7, we imply that the dominant is a 5 of something. And the 5 of something is usually the tonic. But we'll talk about later, it's not only the tonic that this can be a 5-7 of something. It can be a different chord.
I have a question related to
Go
that.
ahead, what is it?
So saying dominant 7 is basically just to give context as to what exactly it is we're talking about.
Yes, because if you take a look here, take a look at this, okay? If I were to put the chords here in a chord sheet, I have a C and a G. Would you call it a dominant 7? You could. But if I suddenly made this a C into a C7, but it's still key of C, and I call it a dominant 7,
That's a key change.
it would actually be a 5 of something. It's actually a 5 of a 4. Because if I put an F here, and now we either could be in key of F or we temporarily use the secondary dominant to shift to the tonic. So this suddenly becomes the new tonic momentarily, just for this measure. if you notice, this is now, you can actually call this now a dominant 7. But if I didn't put F there, I actually just put, let's say, a D minor. You cannot call it a dominant 7 because it does not serve a dominant function or a 5 function. Did that make sense? Because as of now, the
Yes.
function serves as a tonic because it's still C. Did you guys see what happened there? So
Yep.
there are actually times where we cannot actually call as a 7 chord a dominant 7. When you say a dominant 7, it implies that it is a dominant of something. Make sense? So usually when you say add a dominant 7 chord there, I'm going to assume you need a 5-7, or I'm also going to assume you need a secondary dominant. But I'll talk about secondary dominant later. Okay? Did that make sense, guys, when it comes to this one?
I never understood
Yep.
it before now.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Makes sense now.
So that's why when people ask you why is it called the dominant 7, the answer is because the 7 is the only kind of major triad with a flatted 7 that functions as a dominant in a chord scale, because this is the chord scale to begin with. Remember, this is why it's important to, whenever we create a chord, we have to think of it in terms of a chord scale and never just simply a type of a chord. Okay? Now, let's move on. Let's now go to what we call tensions. Now, we don't usually want to call it extensions, but in the jazz world, we call it extension. But in the classical world, we call it tension. Okay, so why do we have tension? Why is it called extensions? Well, the extensions are already automatically the 9, the 11, and 13. You cannot have a 15, although you can when you have higher harmony. 15 is basically the, what do you think is 15? It's basically the 7 already. So
7.
we cannot include that in our tensions. So take a look at this, huh? You already have a 9, a 13, and an 11. If I were to create a chord scale right now, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but this is tonic, so we can actually leave it there now. If you notice, I have the 1, the 3, and the 5, and the 7, right? And of course, what is a 9? You know, guys, in order to easily get what that is, all you have to do is subtract it by, by subtract it by 7. Always subtract this by 7. So 9 minus 7 equals
2.
2. So 9 is a 2. 11 minus 7 equals 4.
4.
And of course, malamang this is a 6.
Like,
But
I
you
never thought to
notice,
do that before.
yeah, you just have to subtract the 7. Okay. Now, I'm going to restart my Zoom because for some reason it stopped sharing the screen. Hold on. But are you guys able to understand the concept so far, guys?
Much,
Yep.
much better than before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So much.
Sige. Always remember that we have to create a basic understanding. So I'm just gonna wait for a while for the iPad to reconnect because it does that every after like 10 minutes or something. Do you have any questions for now as I restart the iPad? Guys, any questions so far? Okay, anything you want to talk about in the near next hour or so? Are you
I'm
nothing?
scrolling through the notes I've been taking. Not really. No, I'm
Okay naman. Okay. I'm trying to find out how I can do this now without the iPad because I need the iPad to teach you guys. So we're actually technically having a glitch right now, which is sad. Well, actually, that could be the end of our lesson if ganun lang ka, if hindi talaga kaya naman. I'm gonna try to do another app. Muna. So siguro we can take a few minutes muna to chill. I'm gonna pause the recording. Regular face. Hi guys. Okay, so we're back. So I'm gonna just update you on him so that when Jed enters, I can see it in the thing. By the way, guys, if ever you actually do get an, this is a very good app. So take a look at these guys. So we last left off on tensions. So why would you call it a tension? Well, basically, these are the unstable tones. Remember that the most stable tones in the chord is actually number one, the root. The second to the stable will be the fifth, and the third stable will be the third, and then finally the next stable will be the seventh. Okay? Always remember in that order. That's the most important. But we will notice something very interesting later. Ah, what happened? I cannot record my Zoom anymore. Oh well, I am the host now. So sad. I'm gonna pause the recording again. Anyway, sorry, we're here in this topic now. Just to review, because I just started to record again, now pala. The ways to digest a chord is a partial chord, where you play the rootless version of the chord. For example, a C6 can be played at E minor 7, or you could actually an E minor 7. No, sorry, that's the other topic. A partial chord is simply a C over A, which is technically an A minor 7. You only need to play the C. The equivalent chord is something that you have a C6, and you know that it's the same note as an A minor. But remember, it messes up with the root, so make sure you have a basis. And then for the shell voicing, we make sure that we eliminate a chord tone by order of importance. Okay? So how do we follow up with this one? Let's say I have a C13 chord, and I need to play a C13 chord. We note a C13 is a 1, 3, 5, 7. Oh, also the 6 is an 11. Okay? 1, 6, 7, 9, 11, and 13. Yeah? And we know that a 13 automatically says a flatted 7. Right? So let's start eliminating. We know we can eliminate the 11. Remove. We know that we can eliminate the 5th. Remove. But of course, because we said 13, we cannot remove it because the tension needs to be there. Of course, we cannot remove the 7th or else it will not be a 7th chord, a dominant 7th chord. We cannot remove the 3rd because it is a minor or major. This is a major 13. And a tonic, we cannot remove the root, although the exception is a rootless. So what does this mean? In order to play a C13, all you gotta play on your guitar is a 3, a flat 7, a 9, and a 13. And you already have a C13 chord. Is that making sense,
Ooh.
guys? You do not need the 11. I'm gonna go back to Zoom to see if ayun, admit, balik ka na. Hi Jed, are you there? Sorry for admitting you late.
Hi.
We're just talking about what are we talking about, guys? Because someone fill him in.
Voicing.
Yeah, shell voicing. We're talking about shell voicings. Alam mo na to, I've already taught this to you already, Jed. So don't worry about it.
Oh, see. Dito ko yung 3 and 7.
Yeah, galing niya. Anyway, so let's say we have a C7 chord. And then for some reason, you're lazy. So you have your 1, 3, your 5, and then your 7, right? You know that this is flat. What's the first thing we remove? The 11. But it's there already. Okay lang yan. By the way, guys, the reason why we remove the 11 is remember that the 11 is actually the avoid tone. Do you remember that one? The 11 is the avoid tone based on the chord scale that we talked about here. That's why we actually sharp 11 it. So, knowing that we can actually remove the 11 already, but there's no 11, so we're good. We can remove the 5th. So I remove the 5th. And then the root, you can actually take out. because that can be given to the bass guitar. Basically, all you really gotta do is play the third and the flatted 7, and then the rest of the band is playing the root, and you guys are resolved. Okay na guys. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yup, yup.
I actually don't have a keyboard right now with me. So pasensya na, I won't be using a keyboard, but the concept is the same. The concept is all you gotta do is to play the third and the 7 in a C7 chord and you're okay. Malamang if it's a C13 chord, all you have to do is to play the third, the 7, and the tension 13 and you're good. Take a look at that, huh? You only need 3 notes to make a 13 chord. Okay, guys?
Interesting.
So the thing is, as long as the root is covered by the bass, you can actually call this the chord already. Okay, now let's move on. We talked about partial, we talked about rootless, we talked about how we can remove the rootless. Now remember how we talked about equivalent chords? We gotta talk about equivalent chords because this is what's gonna save your life when it comes to night pieza.
This is where
Let's
the
talk
fun
about
begins.
yeah. Let's talk about the let's talk about well, this is not necessarily an equivalent, but we could actually there's a is there a phone ringing? Is that mine? Okay. So, ganito tayo guys. Notice how let's do a sort of equivalent, but technically not. Let's do a hack. Let's do all of the hacks that we know. We'll call it hacks, but technically they're a combination of equivalents. Okay, but technically these are hacks. How do you make a C13 chord? This is all you gotta do, guys. I'm telling you, this is all you really gotta do. The first step is to explode. So when you say explode, you often think of boom kaboom, right? So we're gonna explode this one
Yeah.
by a whole step. We're gonna explode this by a whole step. So now it becomes. So I'm gonna put it in a way that you can understand it without reading the notes. Explode it into a B flat. Keep the E. Explode this up a whole step into an A, and you have your 13 chord. Tapos. All you gotta do is to play the flat, B flat, the E, and the A, and you have a C13 chord. Usually, we
Whoa.
add the tension 9. We add the tension 9 so that mas makapal siya. So add the 9. So you have your B flat, D, E, and then A, and you have your full 13 chord. Make sense? Napakapal lang siya. What else are the other hacks that we know? Now that we know what a 13 chord, let's take a look how this will look like. We can say that from the root, for example, ito muna yung root for now lang naman. For now, let's consider the B flat as the root. Take a look. B flat, D, E, and then A. What did you notice? Because if I were to put it here, B flat, D, F, and then A, this is a major 7, right? Major 7 chord. But you notice this went a half step down, so it is a flatted fifth. So if you have a chord, if you have a major 7 with a flatted fifth, you know that it's a kind of 13 chord. Okay, always remember that. If it's a major 7 kind of chord with a flatted fifth, it's a kind of 13 chord. Okay.
Oh,
Now,
okay. Gets,
now
gets.
that we know that, let's have a chord. Let's put a C minor 6/9 chord. This one was recently used in Waymaker Allegro. Let's say I want to play a C minor 6/9. Let's plot it out. C, E, G, B, and D. Remember, we always have to start with the skipping. We're putting together the concept. Let's have the E flat, because in minor. Let's add the 6. So this D will now become an A. Oh, whose that? And then we have the 9, which is the D. You're good now. So take a look here. You have a C, E flat, G, A, and then D. Remember, you guys always have to be wary the moment you see these kinds of intervals. If you see this interval here, the E flat, if you see this major second interval here, you know that there's a candidate for 13. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this one. If this was the root, what do we have? E flat, G, B flat, D. This is a major 7, right? But this D flat went down a half step. It is actually an E flat, G, A, D. So we now know that it's actually a major 7 flatted 5th. What does that mean? So technically, this is the 7, right? We talked about how this is the 7 here a while ago, this one. By virtue of knowing that this is a minor 7 flat 5, all we really gotta do is to know what is the root. So 7 is a flat, so we go up a whole step, it is an F. Oh my gosh, a C minor 6 is simply an F13 over a C.
Oh, ano?
Do you see it, guys?
Wow. Okay.
Nakita mo yan. So the moment you have a C minor 6, 9, it is an F13 over C. Let's try another complicated chord. Let's do a C7 sus flat 9. Are you ready? C, F, G, and then we have your 7, flatted 7. And of course, you have your flatted 9, B flat. Take out the root, let's focus here. I wonder what we could do here. You see this? Did you see this interval? What did I say? When you have a major second interval, you gotta suspect it has something to do with the 13. So let's move it around a bit. Let's put the D flat down here. So if I put a D flat, okay, I got the D flat, F, G, and then D flat. Now let's make it a little easier on ourselves. Let's make this a C sharp, F, G, and then A sharp. Take a look, huh? Is it? Sorry, it's not A sharp, sorry. I read it wrong. It's not a B flat. It is a dog flat, which is a C sharp. C sharp. Hold on. Yeah, it's a C sharp. We just moved this here. And then after that, we're gonna bring back the root. Let's bring back the root C. Okay, did you guys follow so far, guys? Yes, no?
I'm a little bit lost.
Okay, let's talk about, let's do it again. Let's go back again. C, C7, sus, flat 9. Let's just write down the notes that we know. We know it's a C. We know it's an F because of a sus. We know there's a G. We know there's a B flat because of the 7. And we know that there's a D flat because of the flat 9. We said a while ago that we can rearrange this. So let's rearrange this in a way that we can start to suspect something happening. So how do we do this? We're gonna take out the root muna for a while. Well, I'm just trying to formulate it in my head. Let's put the D flat over to the left. So you have a D flat, you have your F, your G, and then you have your D flat. To make it easier for us to see, we're gonna change it into an enharmonic spelling. We're gonna have a C sharp, and then we're gonna have an A sharp, F, and G. What do you notice? It's supposed to be a C sharp major 7. But you notice that this G sharp is a G natural, so we know it is a flat 5. Did you see it? A C sharp chord is supposed to be C sharp, F, and G sharp. And then it is supposed to have pala a major 7, which is this one, the C. Let's put back the C here. Is this making sense, guys, so far?
I understand it, but I'm gonna need time to process this and
So
practice.
just by virtue of moving everything around, basically all I'm telling you that is a C7, so flat 9 is simply an equivalent of, hold on, a B flat 13 over C. Right, that's mahirap na. That was a little bit harsh na. But it's okay. Are you guys okay, guys? Franco, okay ka lang?
Yeah.
Jed, are you okay? Did you follow so far?
Kailangan ko ng time to process. Medyo nalito ako doon sa meron tayong C sharp, major 7. Tapos kung
Yeah.
paano siya nag-relate doon sa
13.
previous Nazis.
The moment you have a major 7 flat 5, it is technically a rootless version of a C13, of a 13 chord.
Okay, okay.
Basically,
And
if
then
you
yung
stop this pattern of may majors 2 sa gitna, tapos meron kang major 7 sa dulo, you can assume that there's gonna be a kind of a 13 that will come from this chord.
okay, okay. Yeah, better.
Yun lang naman yung sinasabi ko. How about you, RG? Are you able to follow? Kaya? Sige, let's just do one more stretch when it comes to the harmony, okay? And then we're gonna be done now. Ay, joke lang. We're done now with the harmony. Kasi we need to move on to other stuff. But anyway, for the people who didn't get it, you can just skip over this part and then we'll have another session regarding it. Guys, there's a reason why the course is entitled Do Not Be Afraid. Because medyo nahirap siya. Now, let's talk about this. Let's talk about rhythm. Alam ko, this one I've already taught you, Jed. But anyway, guys, remember a circle is equal to 4 counts. A circle with a dash is equal to 2 counts. A circle with a shaded is equal to 1 count. And then the one with the tail is equal to 1/2 of this one. Automatic, guys? Alam niyo na to, guys, diba? So far, so good.
Yeah.
So now, I want to subdivide this more. I want to focus on actually very important rhythms. So the first one is this one. So how we're gonna go about this, we're gonna count 1 and 2. There's a small n that we don't sing. So we're gonna go 1, 2, ready, and 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2
1
and
and 2.
1 and 2
1
and
and 2.
yun lang yun. So if you notice what's happening here is this is equal to 2 counts, right? This is 1 and 2. 1 and am I making sense with this one, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's put it into an advance. If you multiply it by 2, sabihin we're gonna make it smaller as to divide pala. We're gonna notice that 5 patterns will come out. 5 basic patterns. By the way, before we do 5 basic patterns, let's just get this one, okay? In a quarter note, there is always gonna be 16 notes in 4. So if I'm gonna represent them by X, okay? So just one note, just one quarter note. I'm just gonna do 1, 2. We call it 1 E and 2 E and A. You've heard of these guys, right? 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and A. So each of the things that we're crossing out, ta 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 ta, are 16 notes. Okay? All you really gotta know is per quarter note, you have 4 of these 16 notes. Make sense? Let's have the basic patterns. Very easy lang yung basic patterns. Super easy. Let's start out with the first 2 patterns that are like this. And then this one. Okay? Can we try this out? So if I were to expand this into the 4 a while ago, it's actually like this. And of course, it's the opposite, so I'll put this here, and it's actually like this. So what you're gonna say is, say to yourself, 1 E and A. 1 E and A. Everyone go. 1 E and A.
1 and
1
Funny
and
and
So the 1 E and A that we're hearing with ourselves is this one. 1 E and A. Now notice how this one will tell us that we have connected these 3. So just say 1 E. Everyone go. 1 E.
1 E.
funny.
1 E.
So if I were to go 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E, oh 2 E, 3 E, 4 E, everyone go like that. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E, apply 1 E, 2 E, 3 E, 4 E. So by the virtue of that, we know that this is actually pronounced as tata. Tata. This one is now tata. Okay, so everyone go. I'm gonna clap along. I'm gonna clap my hand. Just go tata, 3 and tata, 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 tata. ta 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 ta. Everyone good with that? Obviously, so when you said a while ago, ta, it's a long ta, short ta, right? If you notice, this is the exact opposite, right? So how we're gonna do this? We're gonna say it as ta, ta. We just baliktad. Did you guys get that one? Binaliktad lang natin. So everyone say ta, 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 ta,
Ah,
ta, ta.
ta.
Or it's ta 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 ta. It's ta 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 ta. One e and a. So everyone say one e and a. One e and a.
One and
One e and
Yan,
a. Of course, you have to say the a and keep the one e and together. So we're gonna say one a. One a. In your mind, you're saying one e and a, but we're pronouncing only one a. But technically, you're saying one e and a. Okay. So one a. One e and a. One e and a. Everyone go. One e and a. One e and
Yan
a.
na.
one.
So how that works now is you're gonna say ta 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 ta. 1, 2, 3 ta ta ta. You see it? Now you get the context of the ta and the ta. You got it? Ta 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 ta. So here's the metronome. 2, 3. Everyone go. Ta 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 ta. Okay? Is that making sense, guys?
Yep.
So I'm gonna decide to end
I'm really
our.
disoriented because
It's okay. We're gonna end our music theory on this one, the basic pattern 1 and 2, and then I'm gonna give you guys a follow-up routine. So let's just review everything that we've talked about so far, guys. Oh, where's that monkey? Sad. So when we talked about chords, what is a chord, guys? Anyone can tell me what a chord is, guys? A chord
it's built up
is
of two or more voices.
two or more voices. Very good. And
Implies movement.
we imply movement. Okay. So what's the difference between harmony and melody? The first one
Harmony
is,
implies a quality.
yeah, it implies a quality, while a melody implies a timbre.
Timbre.
And the timbre of this melody and the timbre of the gong here will create a harmony that is a quality of bass frequencies, and maybe a little bit of ting because of the ting of the gong. Make sense, guys? What is a chord scale?
Yes.
A chord scale is something we have to always consider when creating a chord. We cannot say, oh, it's just a triad. We have to know that that triad is built upon a scale. Okay? So we talked about chord triads. Triads are basically 3-note chords. So the 3 notes that we have are the major, minor, suspended, augmented, diminished. When we say suspended, it's automatically assumed to be suspended or not suspended 2. So if you want to put suspended 2, we have to say talaga suspended 2. Okay? Augmented is sharp 5, diminished is 1, flat 3, flat 5. A tetrad is a group of 4 notes. The first tetrad that we know is a 6. You can either have a C6 or a C minor 6. And then we move on to the 7th. We have the 5 types of 7. Major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, C minor major 7, and C half diminished 7. Here are the formulas. You remember these, the tone functions? The tone functions consist of tonic, supertonic, median, subdominant, dominant, submedian, leading tone. The dominant here refers to the 5, which is usually why we call a 7 chord a dominant 7 chord. Because it is the only 7 chord, it is the only 7 chord in the whole scale. Which means that when we say dominant 7, it has to imply that it is the fifth of something. And that it will resolve to that fifth of something. We talked about extensions. So we have the chord tone 1, 3, 5, 7. And then we have the tension 9, tension 13. But we have a scale tone of 11. Why is it called the scale tone? Because the rule that we have is on minor 9, they not play harmonically a note that is on minor 9 above a chord tone. And since the 11 is a minor 9 above the chord tone, the only solution we have is to call it a scale tone or to sharp 11 so that you can actually call it a chord tone. That's where you get your C9 sharp 11 because it's a chord tone. So how do you digest a chord? Remember, we could do a partial chord, meaning if you know that an A minor 7 has a C on top and an A at the bottom, you can just simply play C and you'll get away with it. How about equivalent? Equivalent is simply having a chord that you know that there's an A in the, if you move it around, if you shift the voices around, you know that you can just play an A minor. The C minor 6/9, you know you can just play an F13 over a C. A shell voicing is when we eliminate certain chords from a complicated chord. So certain voices. The first voice to eliminate is always going to be the 11. Second is to eliminate the fifth. Do not eliminate the tension. Do not eliminate the seventh. Do not eliminate the third. You can only eliminate the tonic if you're using a rootless voicing. These are the hacks. How do you create a 13 chord? You just take a track. For example, I want an F13 chord. We play an F, explode the C into a D, keep the A, bring it down from F to an E flat. You have your F13 chord. Viola. And then I talked about these things that made your head explode, but it's okay. And finally, the rhythm, we have the five basic, but we only discussed two. It's ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. And the second one is ta-ta, ta-ta-ta-ta, one E and up, ta-ta. Okay? So thank you guys for joining. I hope you guys
Thank
were
you.
able to
Bye.
explore. The reason why I call it Do Not Be Afraid is honestly, nakakatakot yung mga ganitong concept kasi it's not a concept we usually talk about because these are the kinds of things that makes our head explode. But the moment we do not be afraid of it, we just approach it slowly, we can easily understand it naman pala. Make sense, guys? So,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Wait lang. I'm gonna
Yep, yep.
stop the recording already.